Hey everybody, my name is I Am Monstrum, and we're going to go over today a quick deck tech slash some tips and tricks with the deck that me and some of my fellow Team Rankstar teammates took to this past week's ETS. And that deck would be Skycrag Aggro. Now, obviously, this is a deck a lot of people are super familiar with, so I won't belabor it too much, but just go over some of the kind of the special inclusions in this particular version, and kind of some of the choices as to why we did what. So the first inclusion you'll notice that is not the most common, but since the patch that updated Ankle Cutter where it hits endurance or lifesteal units, made Ankle Cutter an almost automatic inclusion to some extent in Skycrag Aggro. Just because, first off, it has 3 attacks, so it has a pretty solid body. It does have only 1 health, which is unfortunate, but there's not a lot of Vara's choices or Vara's favors out there right now, so it's not in terrible danger, but it does allow you to deal with things like Sandstorm Titan, big lifesteal Vara. It can deal with Rizons and a bunch of other really kind of incidental life steal units and also endurance units. So it's a big help. And in this particular version, we have only 3. The reason why is because basically you don't need multiples of Ankle Cutter. You really only need 1 at a time. And so 3 was kind of that perfect number. Some of the other kind of interesting additions is actually going up to the full 4 signal flares in this deck. One of the reasons is, number 1, it's extra burn to the face. Face is the place. And also with like Rakano aggro and stuff like that in the format, this is an early way to deal with it. Plus, it's cheap enough to be able to combo like on turn 3 on the draw against like Sandstorm Titan and stuff like that, or turn 4 on the draw. You can combo up with Ankle Cutter and Signal Flare, just dealing with that. So that's a pretty big, sweet addition. One of the other additions is we went up to 3 Shugo standards in the power base. In actuality, I think there might be an argument to actually going up to 4 Shugo standards. But you know, it's kind of, you don't want depleted power frequently, so there might be an argument to go up to 4. But the biggest and kind of the most obvious addition to this deck that really kind of pushed it over the edge for most of us was the addition of Chunk. So on the face, you're kind of like, it's just kind of a 4 power 4/3. It just seems kind of but it does have a pretty sweet summon ability. So you can stun an enemy unit, which can definitely help you in racing situations. But the biggest help that this really helps kind of streamline and create more hands that you don't have to redraw is its pledge ability. The ability to pledge on turn 1 is huge, because there's numerous times where you run into, like, you've got Chunk, 5 other cards, and a power, and now, because of pledge, it can actually be a keepable hand, whereas before you'd have to redraw because you only have 1 power. But the pledge ability is a big help. Plus, also, occasionally you actually will get the renown trigger. It's super rare. It basically never happens, but it is another side benefit. In the market, which, by the way, we went with 4 Howling Peak Smugglers. Most versions before just play the basic Fire Merchant or the basic Primal Merchant, but we went with Howling Peak Smuggler because of the ability to deal +1 damage with our spells, which is huge, especially because quite frequently this deck kind of turns into a burn deck right at the kind of the end of the game, and this can really help. Plus, also it buffs up things like our Signal Flares into Torches. Our Torches would now be able to deal with Rizons and other units like that. Also just adds 1 more damage to Obliterate, Backlash, and also the combo with the Torrential Downpour in the market. Torrential Downpour in the market is amazing against either the mirror match or against Rakano aggro, which kills most units. And also it works really, really well against things like Grenadins and Kinetins, or just the Scrappy Hour type decks. So it can actually be quite helpful, and also does damage to the enemy's face as well. So overall, it's a pretty simple basic deck, you know, playing 4 Oni Ronins, playing Snowcrust Yeti, playing Dusk Raiders. It's all kind of basically the same as you've probably seen before, but the addition of Chunk, Howling Peak Smuggler, and just kind of going all in on Signal Flares really makes a big difference into the deck, and that's one of the reasons why we went with this deck for the weekend. So basically we're going to go through a game and show you how it goes. So on to the game. Hey folks, one quick tip I totally forgot about in the deck tech is with the pledge ability with Chunk. If you have premium sigils, you want to turn those off, because then your opponent will know that you pledged Chunk on turn 1 if you play a premium sigil the next turn. So definitely turn off, instead of saying use premium, you want to actually take out the premium fire sigils or primal sigils. So that way your opponent doesn't know that you're pledging Chunk. It's a very small thing, but it's totally worth doing. So I just want to mention that real quick. I totally ran that over in the deck tech. Hey everybody, real quickly before we get into the game, I want to give a big shout out to our team sponsor, Inked Gaming. They make a great product. They do a bunch of things like customizable mouse pads, tapestries, game pads, play mats. They even have like game bags and stuff like that too, hoodies. I mean, you name it. If you want to customize it and you're a nerd, they definitely have it for you. But huge shout out to them. And if you use the code TRS12, you can get 12% off your next order there. So definitely use the code TRS12 to get some money off, some great gear that you can show off in your own style with Inked Gaming. Alright, so we are in our game with Skycrag Ago, and amazingly, we are actually on the play, which is really great for us. And we do actually have the ability to go turn 1 Oni Ronin, so I think this hand is definitely a keep. I kind of wish I had a torch or something to maybe deal with a blocker, but this is definitely a good keepable hand. And we will start actually with a Granite Waystone on turn 1 to play Oni Ronin. We could have possibly played Diplo Seal instead for the fire, but I just want to make sure that we can have at least a double fire or double primal, just in case, depending on what we drew. That just gives me more options. So play primal. And I think here we actually just play out Ankle Cutter. Because they're playing, we've only seen them play a fire sigil. I think we're okay to just play out that. We could get punished if they play a Praxis something here. That could be problematic. Our opponent is deep in the tank. And it's only their turn 2. Maybe they just really dislike playing against Skycrag. That very well could be the case. We might be getting roped out here soon. Maybe disconnected. Alright, so our opponent is back in the game. And it looks like they are on some kind of aggro. Luckily, we do have a good answer here with Signal Flare. So we're 100% just going to Signal Flare here. Vadius seems very good. Especially with another Warcry on it. And now we can just dump out our hand, basically. And then the Shogun Scepter actually will go great either on one of our Aegis Yetis or on Vadius. So I feel like we're in a good spot. Our opponent is doing nothing as of presently, which is pretty good for us. They might be missing a color or something like that. Might be missing some influence here. Oh, okay, nope. They are just dead here though, so let's see. So they block here. 7. Yeah, they're dead no matter what we do. All right. I mean, that kind of just demonstrates the power of Skycrag aggro. It's just very quick, bang, 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 and it's over. If your opponent has a slow start, you're going to completely punish them, which works really well in a kind of slower meta that we're in right now. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy this game, and hopefully you enjoy Skycrag aggro.